What stories are they not pushing in the media, right? That's always an interesting thing to look at. We'll start rounding up the stream now. So let's talk about the stories they are not covering in the media. What are they not covering in the media? Well, there's a big story that actually broke in August, but then got picked up again by the Telegraph at the end of September. It sat out there for a month, okay? So let me just... Right. We agree, okay? Apparently the media agrees. We agree that it would be bad if people were using social media to, like, misinform people or to use it to control people or to abuse what's going... We all agree, right? Like, the media say it's bad when the Russians do it. So, first thing I just want to tell you about is... You're not even going to believe it. It was revealed, okay, that a Twitter executive... I can't believe what I'm about to say. It was revealed that a Twitter executive was a British Psyops officer. Okay? So an executive working for the for one of the biggest social media outlets is also a Psyops soldier in the British military. I can't believe I have to actually go to Newsweek to show you this. Can you even believe it? Right? Here's Newsweek. Twitter executive revealed to be Psyops soldier linked to spreading disinformation across social media. That's a Twitter executive, guys. A Twitter executive with editorial responsibility for the Middle East and North Africa is also a reservist officer for the British Army's Psychological Warfare and Propaganda Unit. Mate, the game's rigged, guys.
Doing something.
The game's rigged. Don't you get it? It's rigged. Gordon Macmillan, who joined Twitter in 2013 and is listed as the company's head of editorial for EMEA, also serves with the 77th Brigade, an outfit formed in 2015 to conduct information warfare and develop non-lethal ways of conducting war. The report, which was published in Britain's Middle East Eye, the paper of record, guys, revealed how Macmillan served with the unit for several years. Twitter downplayed Macmillan's links to the army and said it supports its staff in their external volunteer commitments. Twitter is an open, neutral, and independent service, a spokesperson for Twitter said to Newsweek. We do not allow our data services to be used for surveillance purposes or in any other manner inconsistent with people's expectation of privacy. Employees who pursue external volunteer opportunities are encouraged to do so in line with company policy. The spokesperson also added, we proactively publish all tweets and accounts relating to state-backed foreign information operatives on the service, regardless of the source. We built this industry-leading archive to promote better public understanding of these threats. There is no relationship or agreement between the 77th Brigade and Twitter, other than using Twitter as one of the many social media platforms for engagement and communication. The Army does not comment on specific activities of reservists working with the fucking Psyops division. Now, for me, I don't know, guys. Kind of seems like a bit of a big deal. Like, kind of seems like a bit of a fucking big deal. Wait, take the poll. What was the poll? Wait, no, but that's a meme. Surely, what's this one? Indifferent. Like, why is that there? But yeah, it should just be suicide, obviously, yeah, of course. That's exactly how it went down. Has anyone clicked on suicide? I don't want to click on anything because I'm going to get bombarded with it for the rest of my life, probably. So, Newsweek actually doing some fucking good journalism. It's up is down, black is white. Despite the assertions of Twitter and the British military academics and researchers have said the division between the two is not so clear, David Miller, a professor of political sociology in the School for Policy Studies at England's University of Bristol, who studies propaganda and public relation efforts concerning the British government, is one such academic. He told Newsweek he believes a link is there, and adding, it's a threat to our democracy. I would say I know a good amount about army propaganda and Psyops operations, as they're called. But what is interesting is how little information we have on the 77th Brigade. I suppose it means that all their work is covert, but what I would like to know is, what are they exactly doing? Are they just tracking accounts, or are they trying to influence people's views? What we do know is that the brigade has locked its own Twitter account, so it cannot be seen, so we assume they're trying to influence people under the operatives' own names. And because we know so little about exactly what they're doing, we have to look elsewhere for clues, for example. If we look at the documents leaked by Edward Snowden about the NSA, and its JTRIG, Joint Threat Research Intelligence Group program, we can see that governments are clearly lying and deceiving people by creating troll farms and fake accounts that try to influence the way people think. What the government will say is that they are trying to prevent radicalization and acts of terrorism, but I think it's deceptive and it's a threat to our democracy. Twitter is also deceiving us because it is not acting as transparently as it could. If they are working with army personnel in this way, it is extremely damaging to democracy. Given Twitter's closure of accounts alleged to be used by foreign governments, it's a very hypocritical stance of Twitter to take. And yes, this was Twitter when they banned 3,000 supposed Russian agent accounts. Yeah, you got a fucking psyop in your office. You've got a guy who works for British psyops in your office. So I saw that. That Newsweek article, by the way, on October the 1st, was pretty much the only thing. Like, the story was very, like, just ignored and kind of brushed over. And again, mind-blowing, isn't it, that journalists, like, don't want to write about the bad things Twitter are doing, but they'll write about, well, why aren't you banning Nazis? Why aren't you banning Russians? Why are you working with a British... Why is an executive a British intelligence officer? That's a problem. So if you go to fair.org, this is like a website dedicated to tracking fairness and accuracy in reporting. It's been around since the 80s. It's definitely fallen from the high standards it used to set itself back in the day. This was one of the things that I learned about when I was studying journalism, that this website existed. This was one of the forms of journalistic oversight that we had. Doesn't really make any difference now, but you can see here, a recent investigation from independent news outlet Middle East Eye uncovered that a senior Twitter executive is in fact an officer in the British Army 77th Brigade. For a media so committed to covering news of foreign interference with US public opinion online, the response was distinctly muted. The story did not appear in the New York Times, the Washington Post, in CNN, CNBC, MSNBC, Fox News, or virtually any other mainstream national outlet. In fact, the only corporate US outlet of any note covering the news that a person deciding what you see in your Twitter feed is a foreign PSYOPs officer was Newsweek, which I published a detailed analysis from Tariq Haddad. When asked by Fair why he believed this was, Haddad agreed it was major news, but downplayed the idea of media malevolence. Even when it's obvious, they got to close ranks and lie to you, suggesting that because it was a small British outlet breaking news involving a British officer, US media may have overlooked it. Yet the bombshell was largely downplayed in the UK press as well, with only The Independent, The London Times, and The Financial Times producing reports on the news, bland and even-toned as they were. There was no other reporting of it in the national press, including in the BBC or The Guardian, the latter having already gotten rid of everyone who seemed to cover the security services and military in an adversarial way, according to a current employee. Furthermore, the news was the focus of alarmed reports in alternative media, Moon of Alabama, Consortium News, as well as from foreign government-owned outlets that have been labeled propaganda mills and have been demoted or deleted from Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook, such as Turkey's TRT World, Venezuela's Telesur English, Iran's Press TV, and Russia's Sputnik and Russian Times. All of those outlets immediately covered the scandal, suggesting the lack of Western coverage was a political rather than a journalistic choice. You see the issue here. This is an exemplifier of what I'm talking about. Are those publications garbage? Yeah. Do they publish propaganda? Yeah. Do they publish nothing but propaganda? Nah. Do you want the people that don't consider it important that Twitter have a fucking PSYOP operative working there, directly responsible for editorial input into your Twitter feed? They deem that not important. They deem that you don't need to know. These other outlets, they did. But we banned them. Those outlets are bad. Those outlets are propaganda. You're not allowed to read their news. You can't post their links on Facebook. You can't see their links on Twitter. You can't get their videos recommended in YouTube. Do you see the problem with the fake news fucking situation we got going on? It's got to be judged on its merits, and we have to start getting a public that can be informed again and make educated and enlightened decisions about its news. And just to link this together, right? Just to link this together. This story ran also pretty much unchallenged. You probably didn't hear about it. And if you tell me these two stories aren't linked, I got a bridge for you. Right? New Scientist. 28th of August. Just a few days before that story broke. On Newsweek. UK police are using artificial intelligence to spot spikes in Brexit-related hate crimes. Interesting. How are they doing that? The UK police are monitoring hundreds of thousands of Twitter posts related to Brexit every day. It is part of a pilot project to predict spikes in hate crimes in the run-up to the 31st of October, when the UK is due to leave the European Union. The online hate speech dashboard is being used by analysis, because remember, if you were pro-Brexit, by the way, you obviously, you're a hateful racist. The online hate speech dashboard is being used by analysts at the National Park Chiefs Council's online hate crime hub, which was established by the Home Office in 2017 to tackle the emerging threat of online hate crime. It gathers Twitter posts from across the UK and uses artificially intelligent algorithms to detect speech that is, for example, Islamophobic, anti-Semitic, or directed against people from certain countries or with disabilities or from LGBT plus groups. Matthew Williams at Cardiff University UK and his colleagues created the dashboard so that the government organisations could monitor hate speech. The dashboard flags between 500,000 and 800,000 tweets per day related to Brexit. Don't worry though, 0.2 to 0.5% of them are classified as hateful. So 0.2% of all of those daily tweets that they're just monitoring and gathering up and watching. You got a view about Brexit. Government's got to know about it. We're spying on you. And again, 3 days later. No, yeah. 4 days later. Irrelevant. British Psyop operative working at Twitter. I don't know, guys. I think the UK's doomed. I think you're lost. I couldn't go back there. Think about it. And then they don't just monitor the tweets. They then take the geographical information on where those tweets are from, and then they feed that information to the police and say, hey, a lot of people are angry about Brexit in your neighbourhood, officers. You might want to watch out for hate crime. Literally, right there. The team recently established, very convenient that this is all recent, isn't it? The team recently established for the first time that an increase in hate speech on Twitter leads to a corresponding increase in crimes against minorities on London's streets, according to the British Journal of Criminology. The pattern is similar to what happens with domestic violence, which often escalates from verbal to physical abuse, says Williams. Yes, in individuals. The team found that as the number of tweets that were antagonistic about race, ethnicity, or religion increased, don't know what any of this has to do with Brexit, so did the incidence of aggravated crimes, including violence, harassment, and criminal damage. A similar study in 2018 found a link between the number of anti-refugee statements on Facebook and violent crimes against refugees in Germany. Yeah, it did. That was at the same time that the German government was saying, hey, what if we just started dosing the water and made everybody loved up? None of this will ever fly in America. It's why it's a refuge. It's why it's one of the greatest countries in the world. It's why the First Amendment's important. Unbelievable. So don't worry, guys. If you've ever tweeted about Brexit, even probably a harmless joke about Brexit, it's been monitored. Your geographical region has been collated. You've been assessed as to whether or not your opinion is hateful or not. And yeah, you know, just don't worry about it. Nothing to see here. We had a guy working at Twitter, by the way, who decides what you see on your feed. Don't worry about it. Nothing to see. It's all good.